Yes, that's right. Survivor Know-It-Alls back to your regularly scheduled programming after our merge episode of Survivor Millennials versus the Gen Xers. And here with me to break it all down, it is a scab know-it-all. Here he is, the man. There was some talk that there's not much wiggle room these days.
Wiggle room, right?
Not much wiggle room, right? Not much wiggle room, right? Well, not tonight.
Too much wiggle room. Way too much wiggle room tonight. Far too much wiggle room.
Josh Wiggler is here. How are you?
Oh my God, I'm doing fantastically, Rob. Of course, how could I not be? With the double wiggle room shout out on Survivor tonight. That was pretty cool. That's pretty nice. I like that.
There really is very little wiggle room.
Not enough.
Doesn't sound flattering, but you know, like any press is good press. I guess is sort of that's the moment right now.
That's what the word is. And so Stephen Fishback is not with us tonight or next week, that he is off on a scheduled 2-week trip. A lot of people were asking me today on Twitter if this was impromptu. No, this was a scheduled trip. Stephen Fishback is on the road vacationing. In the
he had the spoilers.
Hemisphere.
He had the spoilers. He knew to leave the country already, so he had that on lockdown.
So Stephen is going to be back with us 2 weeks from tonight. Next week we will be having another special guest, know-it-all. Sophie Clark will join us for next week's know-it-all. So very excited about that, and a lot to get through as Josh, the mother of dragons.
Oh, Khaleesi. Oh my gosh, Slade, Dragon Slade. Unbelievable. I don't think that a lot of people saw that coming tonight.
I did not see that coming. I was really thinking like, okay, Adam is going to play his idol. Taylor is going to get idled out of the game. And then Adam didn't play his idol. I was like, oh no.
Yeah.
Oh no, this is bad. This is bad.
Yeah, difficult night for Adam Klein. Ultimately ekes it out, but I think it was looking like, oh God, is this Adam's boot episode? Is it like, you know, just like however many episodes of really good Adam content, and it's just all going to come screaming out at the end. It's just going to come to a real terrible halt. He makes it out. Michelle does not. It was definitely a blindside, I think, for viewers who didn't really see that this was a Michelle Boot episode. I think that's good. I think that's fun when it keeps you on your toes like that. That's great.
It really did. I mean, I thought it was a Taylor Boot episode until the point where Adam didn't play his idol. And then, again, very worried. But, again, rough night all around for Tails.
Yeah, difficult night for Tails. Tails' vengeance scheme.
What is wrong with this guy?
I don't know. It's he has a lot to laugh about, I guess, that guy.
Yeah.
But did you like the return of Trail Mix Scandal? Trail Mix Scandal Part 2?
Yes. All right. So we'll talk through all of that. We're taking your questions live tonight. Hashtag RHAP on the live Survivor Know-It-Alls. Busy Thursday coming up. A lot of content coming up your way. Of course, we will have our exit interview with Michelle. That's coming up tomorrow morning. Of course, Josh as well for parade.com. We'll have a exit piece with Michelle. Will you be drawing any dragons tomorrow, Josh?
This is the pad of paper that I used to draw Sup the Dragon when I did my pregame interview with Michelle. So I definitely have it handy. I'm ready to do it. If I hope that she has pen and paper handy. I would like for people in the exit press to ask Michelle to draw some dragons, and I'd like for her to post those online after the interviews. That's what I'm hoping for.
That would be perfect.
That's what I'm driving at.
Pad as we go along. Also, busy Thursday as well, when I will have a recap podcast with the great Kelly Wentworth joining us on the show. So very excited to have her talk about this very interesting merge. You could send in some questions for Kelly, survivor@robinsonwebsite.com. And then on the voicemail podcast, we will have 2015 Jeopardy Tournament of Champions winner Alex Jacob to talk some Survivor voicemails.
Wow. I hope he knows a lot of Survivor trivia. That would be
a smart show we're going to have.
That's going to be really intelligent. You need some intelligent content this week because I'm about to bring it all down.
Bring it all down. Yes. And then finally, one other note, Josh, that with Stephen Fishback on the road, they needed a scab host to write the People blog.
Let's get away from the scab. Steven's not here. We don't need to use his word, okay?
Okay. I wanted to spirit sort of stinging both of us.
Yes, indeed.
Yes, I will be writing the People blog, and we have a very important assignment to come up with tonight. I have no idea who should get the fishy after watching this episode, so hopefully we can talk that through here on a live Survivor Know-It-Alls. All right,
so that's a big deal. So you get to anoint the fishy this week. Now, in doing that, are you determining who you believe deserves the fishy for you, Rob Sesternino, or are you trying to predict who Stephen Fishback would give the fishy to?
No, I would do who I will give it to. I
Okay.
can't predict, when Steven tries to hedge his bets and like, oh, I think that we should give it to production because the challenge, they really amped the drama in the challenge this week. So I'll give it to them. So he doesn't really take a stand on these issues sometimes. He punts often. So we will get to the bottom of that on this episode tonight. All right, Josh. So let's get into all of this. I guess, should we start with Michelle as the person who went home tonight? Because I think that she got a lot of accolades early on in this season. I don't think any of us will soon forget the Mari boot episode. And she seemed to be playing a mostly strong game throughout the pre-merge. But here she is, and I felt very unceremoniously departed from the game and not on the jury, correct?
No, on the jury, first member of the jury. So the jury has begun. That is what Jeff says. So she is the foreperson. First juror. It is known. It is known.
That's right. That's right. Because they said Ponderosa videos were coming, so that makes sense.
Ponderosa videos are coming, but I don't know, Rob. I guess this is a lesson for future survivors. If you go out there and your fellow castaways are burping and farting up a storm, you have to join in. Otherwise, eventually, yeah, it's gonna come wafting back on you eventually. So you may as well join in the fun. It's difficult. I mean, it's hard to imagine what did Michelle specifically do that got her into this position in this episode, at the very least. Hard to really pinpoint something where this is Michelle's fault so much as I think that this was the right person to put a target on for the Zeke contingent. Don't you think?
Well, I would say that if I was going to try to get to the bottom of why Michelle lost, which we'll do in great detail with David Bloomberg at the start of next week, I mean, for me, I think it goes back to Zeke, where I think that she never did a good job of making Zeke feel like that she was part of his coalition that he was trying to build with that group. Where it was, okay, even Hannah came back in, and then Zeke felt like that she was working closely with him. But as soon as the Triforce guys came back, as soon as Jay came back and Taylor came back, Michelle let it be known which side she was really on. And she was full millennial at that point in time.
Yeah, she went straight up millennial. I mean, she's talking about when the guys are suggesting Adam as the person that they should put the vote on. She's like, that's crazy. There's so many other people that we could get out right now. We could do Team Millennial right now, and it wouldn't be even an issue. So no, she was pure to the OG tribe. She wanted to go back to the original millennial deal, and I think that that's a good point. I think that it doesn't seem like she ever really fully gelled with what was going on with Zeke and David and Chris. Never was able to really come as strong into that, and so I also think it's. I don't know. I don't know if I'm impressed with this aspect of it or if I'm concerned about this aspect, but the fact that David and Chris and Zeke are willing to cut one of the four from their Vanua tribe to get rid of Michelle here, as opposed to like really pushing for Taylor or anything like that, I think shows that they're willing to kind of mix it up a little bit more with all of the other people that are in the game. So I think it was a good move to put it on Michelle, but I just don't think that like within this one episode, there was one thing that Michelle did wrong. But I think you're right in terms of building that relationship with Zeke and those guys over the past few weeks. It doesn't seem like it really ever came together.
And it's almost crazy because you would think that she's sort of in this big blob of Gen Xers plus millennial stragglers. She could have been a part of that, but she left the numbers to go back to join up with these millennial guys and what was left of the Triforce plus Will, which seems really, really crazy to me.
Well, I would love to know, like, what did they think was happening tonight? Obviously Michelle and Taylor and Will and Jay, they throw their votes on Adam, but who else did they think was going there? Like, who did they think that they had there? Jay gives us some information at the start of the episode where he says, I think that I've got Brett and I think that I've got Sunday. Does he think he has those two? And who else does he think he has in order to get rid of Adam here? So it does seem out of character for Michelle, who came across as kind of game body, actually, on the show while we had her, that when we did see her, really, like the dragon stuff, those are deleted scenes. That's not really happening on the show. When we have her on the show, she's talking intelligently about the game. So why would she go away from the numbers unless she thinks that she has the numbers? And I don't know what that team, I don't know what that crew, that voting block thought that they had going for them.
Well, is it possible that that sort of big blob of a group where, again, I'm not trying, this is not a, I'm not like shaming the
No
Gen
shame.
Xers or anything
No
like
shame.
that.
There's nothing wrong
I
with the
wonder
blob.
if they thought they had like a group of 9 and they thought that they were going to split the votes over between, okay, let's put, you know, these votes on Jay and put these votes on Taylor. And then that's how, you know, in case one of them has the idol, and then her and maybe somebody else ended up defecting from that to go, or she told the plan to everybody.
Yeah. Well, what do you think about the decision to put the votes on Michelle as opposed to Taylor? That's the big conversation that's happening beachside in the morning, where you've got Zeke and Ken and Chris and Dave, and those guys are talking. And Ken is really insisting that it's Taylor's time to go. I think that he's had enough Taylor in his time together on the Purple Tribe. What do you think about the choice to finally settle on Michelle as opposed to going for Taylor here? Do you think that that's the right call?
Boy, for me, I would say that I would think that the better move would be to go for Taylor, but I don't have any issues with the move to go after Michelle. You know, we've talked through this in a lot of different seasons in the evolution of strategy, where it doesn't matter what number you get out from their side as long as you take one of the numbers off their side. And she did seem like she was probably the most capable player in that group. If you want to like quibble between whether it's her or whether it's Jay, she is, that we've seen that she has that upside in that Mari vote. So I don't really have a big issue to it. I mean, it was interesting to me that we ended up seeing it. I believe it was David who was the first one to bring it up. And you would think that somebody who had the relationship with her on the show, where he's on the tribe with her at least for 9 days, you would think that she would like be somebody that he would want to potentially keep in the game. But, you know, she was also somebody who was trying to get the Gen Xers voted out in the early days of the newly swapped Vanua tribe.
But I think you can see the logic in that, and I think that I actually really like that move. And it really does. It does come from David. It seems like Zeke and Chris clearly are cool with that too, that they are willing to get rid of Michelle, who they've just spent the past several days with. I think, as you know, there's so many people in the game right now. There's a dozen people in the game now that Michelle is gone. It's a lot of people, and you have, you know, all these possible permutations, especially as you winnow down the numbers. That there's a lot of different allegiances and a lot of different loyalties in play. And I think while you're trying to sort of wrangle in a group of like Ken and Jess and making them feel comfortable and making sure that Brett and Sunday are coming home, I think to sacrifice like one of your own first, to show like we've spent enough time with her to know that she's probably going back to the Millennials. She's very, very smart. She's probably not somebody that, if one of the people from her side has an idol, she's probably not the person who's getting an idol played on her. Moreover, like, we've been on this tribe long enough to feel like she probably doesn't have an idol herself. So I think that factor, and also the idea of like, we will offer up one of our own first, shows, I think that, to me, that's like a sign of like, you can trust us. We want to be working with you. We're good to take care of one of our own people. I think that I like that. I think that I like the idea of offering her up.
Yeah, and the other thing in terms of the case for Michelle over Taylor is that Taylor is so bad.
Yeah, that's true. Yes.
So he's such a bad player that you're not concerned that he's going to be able to turn things around. So
you don't want to give Taylor any credit for being able to pull the wool over on Adam Klein a little bit tonight. You don't want to give him, or is that an indictment of Adam?
Well, I think it's probably more of an indictment of Adam here to talk about tonight, because that I like what he's thinking. I like the germ of the idea.
Yes.
But I think that as we really start to do the analysis on this, I think it was a hasty move, where I like the opportunism to go after him and say, hey, I'm not even hungry. I don't even want to eat any of your snacks. Yeah. And so
did this super duper fan not see Survivor Nicaragua, though? I mean, he's just like setting himself up for a classic Alina situation. He's going to be the Alina to Taylor's Nayanka. That's a bad look.
Not good.
Not a great look. Bad look.
And so basically, not only does he come to him and say, hey, I want to work with you, but 2, he also gives him a plan that he wants to do to take out Will. And then 3, reveals that he's found this new advantage in the game, and really gives somebody who has a lot of reasons to want to see Adam go out of the game a lot of ammo to potentially use against Adam down the line.
So I like it, again, to go back to like the germ of the idea. I think that there's something creative about the idea of Adam aligning with Taylor because, as you've mentioned, Taylor's not very good at this. So that's a good person to potentially like if you can manipulate that guy, that's great. Also, no one's really going to suspect the two of you being close because you were instrumental in voting out Taylor's girlfriend. So it's like a very, if you can get it to work, it's a good closet secret alliance. The problem is that's never going to work. It's as you like to say often, Rob. I think it's too cute. I think that there's no world where Adam is going to be able to bring Taylor back in having just voted his girlfriend out. That's just not going to happen. I think you just have to write the Taylor thing off. And I think that there was some wisdom to what Hannah and Zeke were talking about when they were talking about Adam of like, he couldn't just play with the nerdy kids. He had to take a seat at the cool kids table, and he needed to be in every single thing, and that's just too much. So I think there was a cool idea at the heart of what he's trying to do here with Taylor, but I think it's unnecessary, and I think as we saw, it's potentially a very dangerous thing to go after. So not great instinct on Adam's part tonight.
Yeah, and it ended up being problematic for him in that he almost got to a situation where both of these warring sides both wanted to take him out at this tribal council. We got to a point that he was really probably saved by either the grace of Zeke and Hannah or the Gen Xers having the cooler heads here of like, hey, let's not rush to vote out somebody who's working with us in this spot. But they said he's like the worst person to work with because he keeps going back to both sides.
And in Adam's defense, at least, like he has enough self-awareness to know that his position in the game is pretty thin right now. That's what he says. Is like, I'm in a very tenuous spot, and it's a spot of his own making for sure. And I'm sure that he gets that. But it is, it's great that Adam has survived this week because people really like Adam, and Adam has been very fun on the show. But he's not out of the woods. For Zeke and Hannah to have that conversation, for us to see that moment of Zeke explicitly saying Adam is a terrible ally to have. That makes me really, really worried about Adam's prospects moving forward. And I think, that was just a bad look. Not great.
And it's just this idea that we keep coming back to where it's not enough to know what the right move to make is, but it's also about giving comfort to the people that you're playing with, specifically your allies. And he's done a really not great job with that in since this merge has really started of making people feel like, okay, I know he's good. I know he's with us, and he's sort of been at the top of the names that could potentially go. Zeke said, I can't wait to get rid of him. And again, maybe that's hyperbolic, right? Yes. But it's not necessarily the thing where, no, he's good. He's a solid part of our team right now. And so it's something that he definitely needs to improve on.
Well, I think another telling thing about Adam tonight that you heard was, people saying, I think it's Will and Jay or Will and somebody are having a conversation before the vote of, I don't think Adam has the idol. He's, running around too much. He's clearly too paranoid to have the idol. So like one of the things that everyone's noticing is that Adam is just like zigzagging around. And when there are 13 people in the merge, that's a scary prospect to have somebody who's talking to too many people. And Hannah observes that as well. It even goes to Adam and says like, stop talking to everybody. You have to stop. That's when you're going to get yourself in trouble. So I think that there's a certain point where you have to cut some losses, at least for right now. Like you have to close the door on some people as potential partners now that you're at this stage of the game. And you just got to have the wherewithal to know that like you're never going to be in good with Taylor. It's just not going to happen. That guy cannot wait to give you a wedgie. Stay away from Taylor at all costs.
All right, just going back to Taylor for a moment, what do you think about their idea to go after Adam at this vote? Do you feel like that was short-sighted instead of trying to target one of the Gen Xers?
Well, I mean, I don't know. I mean, it goes back to last week. It goes back to the decision to get rid of Michaela instead of going after Brett or Sunday there, where you can really start making some damage against the Gen Xers again, or you can start cannibalizing. And I feel like there is some element of momentum in terms of the millennials going after each other, that they've just all been around in this game for so long at this point that they're just, whatever grudges have been nursed over the course of the past 20 odd days, that they're just coming to full boil at this point. And I think that there's, that's the danger of something like this. And I think that it'd be great if they could rally the troops together to get a Gen Xer out, but that's not going to be in Zeke's best interest. It's not going to be in Adam's best interest. And if it's not in Zeke and Adam's best interest, and if they can pull Hannah back in, she's not going to play that way. So I wonder if just the way that some of these votes have been going recently, first Figgy going, and then Michaela going, that there's just a little bit of momentum for this like inward battle for the millennials that kind of can't be reversed.
What about the plan that Adam had? We should go after Will at this vote.
Well, I don't like him telling Taylor that.
Okay, what about just like in a vacuum? Do you think that's the right strategy?
But no, I like that. I really do like that in a vacuum for the same reason I like the call to ultimately go after Michelle, because I like this concept of like go after the person who probably doesn't have the idol. And I mean, we don't know enough about Will to know whether or not like he was looking or were people comfortable with him. Like, did people think that he had it? We certainly know that Jay has the idol. But I feel like Will is not a bad bet. Like if you're trying to target someone on that side who has an idol or who is somebody that is going to get an idol played on them, I feel like Will in that vote, like it's sort of like the Jeffra thing and like the big Jeffra and Sarah vote back in Cagayan, like that feels like the safe person to put that vote on. I feel like Will is a good person in that arena. And it does undercut Jay a little bit if you're observing that Will is Jay's number 2. So that's good. So I liked all the reasons that they were going after Will. I did not like that apparently the plan was so widespread that it got back to Will within 5 seconds.
Yeah, and there was a point after the immunity challenge where Adam was talking to Taylor about it, and he's like, yeah, he knew about that. And Taylor was just like, well, information leaks, okay? Like, yeah, you told everybody.
Yeah, you told everyone. Everybody knows.
Everybody knew about that. Yeah. Josh, we had a hashtag Survivor First in the episode tonight.
Oh, do tell.
We have a new advantage in the game. Adam stumbled upon an advantage which allows him to steal a reward. Mr. Steal Your Reward. And he is able to take any person's reward that they win in the post-merge game. First off, what do you think of this new twist?
It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. Like, I mean, I don't know. Like, if I'm out there and I find the reward stealer or whatever we want to call it, I don't think that I am very inclined. Like, I don't know why you'd be inclined. If you're Adam inclined, I feel like it would be a tricky thing to figure out, like how to use. Like, what's the benefit of it? Like, you got to wait until like there's some sort of second vote thing that's clearly popped up at an auction or whatever, and like that's the reward you want to steal. But to like. Even how he presents it to Taylor, the fact that he told Taylor at all is obviously not very good. But the way that he presents it to Taylor, I feel like it's just he talks about how like I was going around looking for an idol. So like to say that like you found the reward stealer means that you're going around looking for stuff and all you have to show for it is this reward stealer. Like I just feel like all of that is bad news. What do you think? Is this a good twist? Are you a fan of this one?
I'm not sure when it's going to come up. I feel like that...
Like, if it's just used to steal a hamburger, like, that's going to be a...
It just seems like it's going to be something that's really going to piss somebody off. I mean, and who knows? The survivors are very hungry out there, and it's hard to really put yourself in that headspace when you're watching the show. So maybe it comes up. I mean, and going back to Survivor Caramoan, we know that there is great drama that can come from people getting rewards and people not getting rewards. So maybe hypothetically, the family visit comes up and that's something that a survivor would say, oh, I need to get in on that. I need to see my family, or anything that's like one of these really special rewards.
But why would you ever do that? Like, why would you?
Look, I'm not saying it would be a good move.
Yeah.
But I wonder if there is a survivor, and Adam is probably not the impulsive person to do that. But I think we would see survivors in the past that wouldn't do that, that would pull the trigger on that.
So I think potentially then, like, I think, again, the conversation between like good gameplay and good TV, and the two don't have to be
Like
completely
Rodney.
separate.
Would Rodney have used that? I think he
Right,
would have.
right. Like if he loses,
Sorry, bro. I gotta steal your rewards.
yeah, he loses the reward on his damn birthday, and then he gets to, steal it away from Caroline. Like he's able to finally go on that birthday reward. So that's great television.
You better not steal my reward, baby.
Yeah, baby. So I think it's a good TV moment in the making potentially. I think you outlined like some really good examples of like to steal away a loved one visit would be epic. I mean, but it would be catastrophic for your game potentially.
It would not be a good move.
So I don't know what the incentive is to use this thing aside from like if that pops up, like the double buoys pop up in Cambodia and Spencer and Fishback are in the water and they're swimming and one of them gets it, and then Adam Klein is still on his perch competing in an immunity challenge and says, "Hey, that's mine." Like maybe there's something there, even though we still haven't figured out exactly how to use one of those advantages without being heavily targeted. I'm scratching my head trying to figure out like how would I use that. Maybe the best move if you find the reward stealer is like to pull a Culpepper and just like burn it immediately. Like I just don't know that there's any real good strong gameplay use for it other than, I mean, I guess maybe you could barter it to somebody, you could give it to somebody and then let Taylor have the reward stealer. That could be fun.
Yeah, sort of like a Jeremy in San Juan del Sur, where use the reward to steal it for somebody and give it to another person.
Right, exactly. Or you could do that, or you could even just give the advantage to somebody on the sly, like before the challenge, like just like make some sort of deal, like, hey, yeah, on the Vin sly, like you can have this. Although I think your version's probably better. But maybe that's it. Like you could barter by like giving the reward to somebody else.
But it's really just a shame that he's brought it up now into the conversation, and you have Jay and Taylor talking about, oh, he's got this power. They're talking about like that he has the advantage, like Stephen Fishback had, or like we have to get rid of him now because he has this huge advantage in the game, and now it's making him into a target.
Right. I mean, probably everybody knew that he had it anyway because he probably screamed about it during his confessional and everyone could hear. That would be my guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, the fact that info is out, I don't know. I mean, I'm not really sure what the great source of drama is from there. In terms of, I think that we've seen some complicated or some complications in the game in terms of some of these advantages recently that are still in their infancy, that are still working themselves out. And I don't know. I wasn't feeling the reward stealer as much as I've been feeling like the vote stealer or the vote doubler. I think those are better advantages.
I'm not optimistic about how it plays out, but
I'm curious.
It'll be interesting to see where it goes. Maybe there's something there.
I think like the hopeful upside, like the upshot of it is that like it could produce a really good TV moment. But I just, in terms of like game utility, it's harder to see.
One other thing I want to talk about before we start to get into your questions, hashtag RHAP, is this food stealing that went on. So apparently there was a lot of food that came along with the merge.
Yes.
And Taylor was just like, I'm really good with mason jars, so I'm going to steal all the food. What did first off, what does he mean he's good at mason jars? Like he's good at like opening them and taking things out and putting things in different ones? Like is there an actual skill?
My impression was like it was like a potpourri thing. Like he's really good at like filling up a mason jar like perfectly, elegantly, artfully, and like just like the perfect ratio of banana chips to macadamia nuts and everything like that. I feel like he was really good at like the edible arrangement. I think that's what he was driving at.
Is that what he was going for? And then so he made like a carry-out bag, like a doggy bag, and went into the jungle with that.
Pretty unbelievable. Pretty great. This is what Survivor looks like if Drew Christie makes it past the merge. This is just unbelievable behavior that's happening here.
I want to give a shout out to the chat room. This is from Entasis X23 for the hashtag Sicky Jar Jar.
Yes.
Misa, love a mason jar.
Oh my God. Well, I mean, that is a really, really good idea for a business for Taylor after Survivor. I think Sicky Jar Jar is really, really good. And he could even sell a mayo jar, perhaps, if he would like.
Yeah. It's also good in mason jars.
What's that?
All sorts of like crushed peas and all sorts of baby food.
Is that right? Is that something that you know from the experience of having 2 children?
Yes.
Yeah.
Baby food also good in a mason jar. All right. Josh,
I thought that his banana chip etiquette was really lacking in this episode. I thought that was really disappointing that he
very
would
bad
go off,
banana
you
chip
know.
etiquette.
To go, what are we? Season 32 at this point, and people are still like running off and stealing food from their own tribe, and just like the gall of this guy just openly owning it at tribal council.
Yeah, well, in fairness, Josh, it was a medical emergency.
What does that even mean? He's like,
low blood sugar.
What does that mean? I wasn't even hungry, but when your stomach is doing things, I gotta look out for number one. Like, what did that even mean? You're not hungry.
Two.
Yeah, watch out for number 2, everybody. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what he was going for, and
baffling, honestly.
And it was a funny conversation because Jeff was like really trying to get it like hold on, is this a millennial thing? And Chris is like, no, it's an a-hole thing. Like it's a selfish.
It is an a-hole.
It has nothing to do with being a millennial.
Yeah, no, it's a Taylor thing. Yeah.
Rock on.
It's a Tay-hole thing. Tay-hole move for sure.
Yeah. Okay. All right, Josh. Let's start to get into some of the questions from the listeners here. Hashtag RHAP. This is a question that's from the Flow, who wants to know, I hope that there is a silent auction this season on Survivor. Do you think that we'll have an auction? Or is the Survivor auction still broken?
I don't know if the Survivor auction is still broken. I mean, there's been no attempt to go back and fix it since there was the realization that maybe this thing is a little bit broken. But I think that the way that this reward stealer works, you would figure that an auction would come into play at some point, or at least that would be a great moment for it, right? I think that would be a great moment to bust out the reward stealer. I think that the auction is already so turbulent. And that's something that we've certainly seen built into the auction before, of like, you could steal this person's money, all of it right now, and then send them to Exile Island. So like there's been that moment before. I love the auction. I don't even care if the auction is broken. I would love to see it. And I think that the fact that this reward stealer is in the mix, that'd be great. It'd be great to have that back.
Okay. This is from Lori, who wants to know, how was Taylor not burned more about eating all the food he did? I feel like any other season, this would have been World War III.
Worlds Apart War 3. Yeah, no, I think is it possible that like at a certain point these people are just like, Taylor's gonna Taylor, and we will deal with that when we are finally able to deal with that, and just like let it ride until then. Like do Ken and Jess, like, do they just like come to this merge tribe and be like, yeah, Taylor's a monster person, and we kind of just have to let that go for now, and then eventually we will be able to slay the monster and everyone will be happy.
Well, you got the sense that it really rubbed a couple people the wrong way, Brett in particular, but I thought Ken seemed like he was really annoyed about whatever happened to just
predictability.
Yeah. Whatever happened to everybody got their own portion.
Yeah, I think that Ken we know how Ken feels about respect and manners, and he has been around Taylor for as long as he's been around.
These millennials, they want like their snacks sent to them in a box every month.
In a mason jar.
In a mason jar.
Yeah. I've never had a mason jar sent to me with a drone. Yeah, I think that I think at a certain point, it's just like, all right, we've got his number. We know what he's like. We know what he's about. So we're just, we'll deal with that at a later point. You brought up Brett. This felt like a good episode for Brett, right?
I thought that Brett was a bounce back episode for him. I thought he was really good. Brett.
Yeah, ring LaBelle. That was good. Good for Brett. I mean, very visibility spike for Brett LaBelle.
That's good. Yeah. I'm happy for him. I like Brett a lot. I feel like I was really pumped up about Brett after the first episode, and then he sort of went away for like 5 episodes, but then he's been back the last couple of weeks.
He's been back. I was happy about that. I think that, he was, he seemed like he had a good head on his shoulders here. Very happy to see Chris, and happy to see the Law and Order Alliance back together. I thought that was good. Here is a question from Gregory McBean. Can we talk about this advantage? Isn't the best move to not ever use the advantage? So what do you think about that ultimately? Like, do you just never play the thing if you get this reward stealer?
Yeah, it's funny. It could be like a Curb Your Enthusiasm episode after every single reward challenge where the person comes back to camp and Adam has the conversation with, I just want to let you know, I could have taken your reward. I didn't. I just so you know, I just want you to know that I could have, I didn't.
You know what I'm really looking forward to is the day that Adam does use his reward stealer, steals the reward, and afterwards has a sit down conversation with the person. I screwed you.
I took your reward. I ate all of the food that you were gonna have.
Oh my God, he'd be great at like the Jimmy Kimmel Halloween.
I
videos.
did. I did.
Yeah.
I ate it all.
I ate all of your candy, Taylor. Yeah, I think that's a moment that I'm looking forward to. That's the kind of thing. Like that's the upshot of the reward stealers. It's going to be a great sit down between Adam and somebody at some point.
Yeah. Original Tryhard wants to know that it seems everyone suspects that Jay has an idol. Why else would they vote out Michelle first post merge? They obviously couldn't split the vote. So do you think that people feel like Jay has the idol? I feel like I heard that from somebody in the episode that they thought Jay had the idol.
If so, I'm not remembering it immediately. But I feel like, I don't know. I mean, it depends. Certainly, Hannah doesn't know about it as far as...
Did Michaela tell Hannah?
Yeah, could Michaela have told Hannah? That's not impossible that Hannah has that information. Certainly, we don't know that as far as the show goes. But what do you think? I mean, if Fishback were here, you guys would be talking about like should they have split the vote? Like, obviously, things worked out for the huge alliance, but is this a split the vote type of moment for you?
I don't think it is because I don't think they had enough votes. I mean, how many votes came in for Adam? Was it 4 or 5?
4, I think.
4?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess what is it? You could have gone 5-4-4, but I mean, it's just one of these scenarios where you don't know where everybody is at this point. It's like there was a couple people on the fringe that you didn't really know exactly where they were voting. I mean, were you 100% locked in that Hannah was going to vote with the bigger alliance? I mean, there was a possibility of what was Adam going to do. So I think that they probably were conservative here, and I feel like that. You know, more often than not, when Steven and I have this debate, I'm more on the side of just pick a person, just put all your votes on it. Sometimes you get in more trouble by splitting the vote and just, putting all your votes on a person that you are very confident doesn't have the idol. And look, sometimes you get burned, like my recap guest that I'm going to talk to tomorrow, Kelly Wentworth. But other times, better safe than sorry.
Well, I think that maybe is that a thing that's happening now with like these giant merges that we saw. We see the giant merge in Cambodia. We're seeing a giant merge here. Even like the Worlds Apart merge. It's a lot of people at that merge, and I think maybe there's something to the idea of like this is a test. This is a moment for us to see if like we're all in the same spot together right now. Dump your votes on one person. This is a moment of trust building, and you just got to do your damnedest to make sure that you're banking those votes on the person who's not going to have an idol in their pocket. So yeah, I have no problems with that either, personally. From Christian Esparza, is Adam playing too hard? His only real mistake, I feel, was telling Taylor about wanting to vote out Will. I know that are we being too hard on Adam, Rob, talking about Adam so much, but do you think that Adam is playing too hard tonight?
I mean, I thought we heard Adam say in the episode, I think I'm playing too hard, too fast. And I think that he realized that he was pushing it. And the hope for Adam is that he's able to make an adjustment and realize, boy, I've come into this merge playing at 100 miles an hour. I need to slow things down. I have an idol in my pocket.
Yeah.
I have this other advantage that who knows if I'm going to use it down the road. I'm in a good spot in terms of the numbers, and I think he just needs to get his feet underneath him. And as a super duper fan, I wonder if he's just too exuberant to get into the merge and has put too much pressure on himself, and he needs to slow things down.
Yeah, no, I think so. I think, he is a super duper fan. He's very psyched to be here. He's very happy to be at the merge. I think that he has a lot of ideas going on, and I think that he's very excited to play. But when Hannah is the one telling you that you're panicking, that's probably not a great sign.
And he's a super duper fan, and I believe for the first time in a vote scenario, he heard his name kicked around. So
yeah,
he's excitable. Zeke told him, I heard your name. And he's like, okay, well, I got to fix this. And then he scrambled and he went scrambling way too far. So there was the two major things that he did wrong in this episode. When he goes and he makes the play to Taylor to try to patch things up. And then when he goes back to Taylor again and sort of loses trust with his allies at that point.
I think that's right. I think for Adam too, that he is just coming off of being on Takali in the, the David Lynchpin position. He is the person at the hub of things like Cassandra, and he is the guy who gets to, anoint which side in his tribe is going to proceed. Like, is he going to vote out Biggie or is he going to vote out Ken? And I think from going to that power position to the merge, I think it's tempting to start, kind of like keep that momentum up. I think it's a dangerous thing as well. From Amanda Fallon, is this the dumbest advantage ever? Who would ever use it? Oh, that's not fun. I don't know. I feel like someone's going to use it. I think Adam's going to use this thing.
It'll be interesting to see if and when he ultimately uses it. I mean, who does he steal the advantage from? Does he steal it from the person who wins it? And then is he able to take two people on the advantage? And could he bring the person back where it's like, okay, I'm going to steal Zeke's reward. All right, well, who do you want to take with you? I got to take Zeke now.
Right.
And so is it that sort of thing? If it is, that's a little bit weak sauce. It's a little bit of a cop out.
Yeah, can he
or like construction worker out?
Construction worker out. Yeah, if it's a team reward challenge, can he steal the reward from the other team and give it to his entire team? That would make him look like a superhero for the moment. Like for the afternoon, he's going to be the coolest guy on that trip. I still feel like it's still gonna raise some flags. From Jen Manning, did Brett make the right decision to be the voice of Taylor's mason jar stash? And why is Taylor so good with mason jars? What do you think about Brett calling out the mason jar scandal? Do you think that's a good move on Brett's part?
I thought he did it in a very political way where he brought it up at tribal council where it came up and everybody sort of knew about it. I thought he handled it better than our good friend Marty Piombo probably did, where really turning it into like this public hearing about it back at camp, very confrontational, where you have Jeff as a moderator, like you're bringing it up in therapy, that's like a safe place to sort of get that out there. Let Jeff sort of lead the charge in sort of prosecuting the case from there. And then ultimately, I mean, his allies aren't going to get that mad at it, or they're not going to vote him out in principle over that, but it could be something that helps unite the Gen Xers against him.
I thought it was a great night for Brett. Loved that for Brett. Thought that
that was very good.
Yeah.
Josh, I'm trying to see if there's
I've got one for you.
Else. Yeah, what else you got?
I've got one for you. This is from Thitan11. What do you think about the phone game between Taylor, Adam, Jay, Will, and Zeke? Who screwed up the least? Did you like that? This does feel like Survivor telephone, right? Like the information is just leaking from person to person to person. It was fun. I like that. Very millennial thing to do.
No, millennials don't talk on the telephone, Josh.
It's a game of text. Game of text.
Game of text. That's right. All right, Josh. I thought there was one other thing I wanted to ask you, and it's escaping me. Hopefully it comes back before we wrap this up. That Jason Curtis wants to know, what will Michelle's impact be as mayor of Ponderosa? Okay.
Ooh, yeah.
Yes. Josh, I want to ask you, Ponderosa or Wanderosa?
Wanderosa. Yeah, I think it's a different Osa these days. I don't know. I wonder. I mean, she seems to be somebody who respects the game, who had a really good head on her shoulders about how to play, has played with all of these people that are in the game, some of them much closer with than others. I think she's going to be a good juror. I think that she's somebody who's game's going to respect game in this respect. I like her as a tone setter for the jury. She doesn't seem to me like somebody who is going to be very embittered. I think that she is going to be somebody who is going to respect a hard-fought win, and that's great. So hopefully, I mean, just from what we got from her on the show, she seemed like she took the game really, really seriously. Wasn't a super quirk monster out there as far as we got to see, which does break my heart a little bit, but what are you going to do? So I think that she's going to be a good four-person for the jury. I think that that's a good start. Are you happy with her on the jury? Do you think that this is a good spot for her?
Yeah, she's fun. I feel like that she ended up being underdeveloped as a character on the show. I think that back from the preseason, I think we thought that she's going to be, okay, this is going to be basically the 26-year-old Debbie. I'm not sure how old exactly she is. And
Millennial Debbie, though, sure.
Yeah, I don't know if she ever lived up to that. Certainly, we talked a lot about one of her secret scenes with talking about the dragon last week, and she had that great tribal council with flipping Hannah against Mari. But ultimately, I feel like that there was some promise unfulfilled.
Sure, the prince who was promised. I do like though. I loved being blindsided about it because I had no indication that it was really going to be Michelle here. I thought that was good. From Christian Esparza again, since Adam is on everyone's radar now, who has the most power? Is it Zeke or a Gen Xer? What do you think? Who in the game right now are you looking at as the most powerful player in the game? Certainly, Jay fancies himself a secret kingpin. Right now doesn't look like he is the person who is in charge of what's going on. Who do you think is in the power seat right now?
To me, I feel like it's Zeke. I think that he is the person who has the most relationships in the game, and he's the person that seems like that he is respected from the Gen X side and has relationships with a lot of different people on the millennial side. So I feel like if I had to give it to one person, I think that he's probably the best person sitting in the middle, and I'm not hearing his name coming up.
What's the difference between him and Adam right now? Like, what's the difference in approach that's going on here? Where I think they both entered this merge in a similar place, where they were both, kind of in central roles within their swap tribes, and people who had a lot of potential to make a lot of different cross alliances work. And here we're really seeing it kind of blow back on Adam, and Zeke is looking pretty chill. He's looking pretty cool. So what do you think it is? Is it just a difference in approach, like a difference in terms of how you're trying to sell information? Is there just something about Adam that like inherently sketched some of these people out?
To me, if I had to guess, I would say that it is the social game of Zeke. I think that Zeke has made bonds with the other player where I feel like Adam is trying to make alliances with the other players, that he is talking about, hey, Taylor, I know you don't like me, but we should vote together on this. And we should potentially, Ken and Jessica, I know you guys don't know me very well, but we should vote together on this. And Zeke, I think, is taking it slower and trying to form bonds with more people. And I think that that's why he's having more success at this moment, because people aren't looking at him as somebody who is a little bit sketchy.
Interesting. From Jen Manning, was it smart for Gen X Jessica to push herself so hard in the challenge? Do you think she felt like she needed it? What did you think about Gen X Jess kicking some butt in the challenge here tonight?
Yeah, I don't know if she needed it. I think that was probably a situation where she wasn't going home, but it's the first individual immunity challenge. I think that she probably wants to push herself. I think she's, you get excited when you're out there. She wants her kids to see her compete and do well in the challenge, especially when it gets down to there's only 2 people left, there's only 3 people left. I think it's hard to sort of take your foot off the pedal when you're that close to getting the necklace and knowing that you're going to be safe. We've seen her that she can get a little paranoid at times.
Right.
So I think that the necklace was tantalizing to be right there. I don't think it ultimately comes down to hurt her. I think that it probably ends up being a good spot for her to be one of these last women left. I mean, it is sort of unthinkable that we are down to but 3 women left in the game in Hannah, Sunday, and Jess. I think that you get to a point where I don't think we end up getting to just like a clean slate of wiped off the board. I think that we end up with a couple that probably end up going the distance. So I don't think it's going to ultimately be where we have to go after her. She's a physical threat, but probably in a perfect world, she backs off a little bit.
Yeah, but it was good to see. She's Gen X Jess. She's got some moves there, so good for her. It was competitive. Did you like? Were you impressed with Will? With Will sticking it out here and being the victor here of immunity #1?
I was impressed with Will. Kudos to him. It's a nice moment for him to be 18 years old and out there winning immunity on Survivor. I was a little nervous for him when his name came up, and I thought that that's going to be sort of like unceremoniously for him to go out of the game without really making a mark yet at this point. So I still have some hopes that he's able to do something after the merge. But I think what it's going to take is for him to be in the game without the likes of Taylor and Jay. I think if those guys who looks like big targets, who look like they could be out of the game in the next couple of weeks, if Will can stick around past when those guys are there, I think that he can play his own game a little bit.
Do you think that some sort of clash between Will and Adam was inevitable, considering their remarkably distinct voices? Was this just like, were they drawn to like some sort of Mortal Kombat collision, these two, because they both had either the booming or loudest voices on the island?
This is a good season for voices. I think
Great
there's a lot of
voices,
distinct voices on the island, ancient voices and distinct voices on the island altogether. So I think that it's going to, no, I don't think that necessarily that they are drawn to each other like magnets.
A lot of meat on the bone for the TO's 33 chapter. A lot of impression fodder. It's gonna be good.
One of the highlights. It'll be one of the
highlights.
highlights.
In 2020.
Josh, so much fun to go through this episode. Looking forward to continuing to talk about it through tomorrow.
Yeah, no, you got a good lineup here. Looking forward to Underdog Wentworth breaking it down. That's going to be fun. Are you happy with the merge? Solid merge? I feel like solid merge episode.
Yeah, basically for me, that the merge is the beginning of a, 6 or 7 week Survivor feast. And I want to just sort of set the table where we can go in a lot of different directions. And I can't really predict how this is going to go. It looks like Taylor and Jay might be the next 2 people to go out after that. But it'll be interesting to see exactly where things might fracture from there, because you do have that sort of bigger Gen X plus Adam and Zeke and Hannah, how that ultimately cracks and in what direction people ultimately go from there.
I think there's a little bit of concern of like some sort of millennial pagonging right now, or of like the Triforce at least. Like you could see Taylor finally going next week. You could see Jay going the week after. I think that that's fairly easy to see. There's another, I mean, aside from the fact that the social dynamics are kind of complicated thanks to the swap, I think that there's also this, not insignificant fact that there are 3 idols on that island right now. David's got one, Jay has one, Adam has one. So I'm looking forward to however those come into play here. And obviously those can be spoilers, but I think it's an interesting setup right now.
Josh, let me get your input. Do you have a pick for the fishy this week?
A pick for the fishy this week. I mean, I think that you would probably go with like the Zeke, David, Chris area, like those 3 that are putting Michelle up. I really like that
between the 3 of them, right? That would be a fishback half measure.
That's a fishback half measure. So you have to go full measure, and you have to decide which of those 3 you want.
I'm leaning towards Zeke. I feel like that full fishy to Zeke is where my head is at right now.
I think that he managed a really, kind of difficult social situation. I think also as a mirror against Adam, given that they both came into the merge with similar positions, and it played out in this episode really differently, where one was really struggling and one was flourishing. I think that's a good call. I'm happy with the call for Fishy for Zeke. I think that's okay. Good.
I also like that he resists the potential urge, the frustration he was feeling for Adam, and resisted the urge to pull the trigger on voting out Adam because he couldn't trust him. I think that would have been a hasty move to make as well.
A Krista hasty move. Yeah, he could trust him for now. He can trust him for now, and I think that that's good. And I think that like knowing that he's somebody that I can't trust long term, and knowing that he's a bad ally to have, but he's probably an important ally to have right now, I think is a good distinction. Yeah, good night for Zeke for sure.
Good night for Zeke. Josh, where do you want to go with the hashtag? You like Sicky Sicky Jar Jar?
Yeah, I don't think that you're ever going to get better than that unless you had a Binks at the end of it, and I don't think we want to go there.
No. And more than Wanderosa?
Yeah, Wanderosa is good as well.
Okay, we'll save Wanderosa for something else down the road.
Yeah.
All right, so fun stuff. All right, so be on the lookout for Josh's exit interview for Parade. That's going to drop first tomorrow morning. How early you get those up? What, like...
They're usually up by 11 Eastern in the morning. So look out for by 11 in the morning. That's when that's going to be up.
Okay. Follow the great @RoundHoward on Twitter to make sure you don't miss those, or you can check them out. Josh always gets them posted on Reddit pretty quickly if you want to find them there. And then, of course, busy Thursday for us that we've got the exit interview. Then Underdog Wentworth, she'll be here to talk about everything. Send your questions in survivor@robisthewebsite.com for the long form questions for Kelly. And then, of course, voicemail questions with Jeopardy champion Alex Jacob. Get your voicemails in robisthewebsite.com/voicemail or 323-282-RHAP. And be sure to be on the lookout for the people.com Stephen Fishback blog as written by Rob.
Oh my God. I'm really looking forward to that. I can't wait for your People debut. This is going to be great. As somebody who has stolen Stephen Fishback's job in the past, it's a really good feeling. So I hope that you enjoy it. I hope that you really marinate in this opportunity.
Marinate in it. Yeah.
I think that's gonna be a really, really good moment for you.
I'm stealing his reward tonight.
Yes, you are. Absolutely.
Yes. All right. Well, fun stuff, Josh. Really enjoyed doing the show with you as usual. The only downside is that we're gonna skip Wiggle Room here
That's it.
for the week.
Not much wiggle room this week. Only in the
yeah.
know-it-alls. Yes.
Really, I guess Jeff is on to something when he says that.
There really is very little wiggle room.
Yeah, this week.
Yeah.
So
Not this week.
But looking forward to getting into it. I thought that the Wiggle Room we did this past week was probably the best one we've done.
I was lit. I was turned up. I was fired up. I was incensed. I was angry. I was mad, and I had to defend my honor, and I did what I had to do.
Yeah, and for those of you who are the fans of the BBOTT, Jordan Parhar is going to get you some live BBOTT coverage on what should be a very wild night in the BBOTT house. So thanks so much to everybody who joined us live. Looking forward to reading your comments on robsthewebsite.com. Take care, everybody. Have a good one. Bye.
Peace.